On this video, we are going to see how well AI understands architectural styles. I'm Clayton Vance, and I'm an architect who's been classically trained, and we're going to try AI out on classical buildings to see if we can actually get the details right. One of the interesting things about classical architecture is that there was hundreds and thousands of years of refinement of the details that led to a very specific language of architecture within classicism. And that led to this timeless beauty and elegance that these buildings have. There's variation in the proportions and the details and all that stuff, but at the foundation of all of it are some very fundamental things. So let's go to ChatGPT and ask it to generate for us an image generating prompt that we can use on 3 different platforms and see what it can do. I'll give it all the information I can. So as we go to ChatGPT, I think with this approach, we're going to give it less instructions and then more instructions because I want to know what its interpretation of classical architecture is. And it's going to be very interesting to discover and what the differences are between the 3 different options. I'm going to go general, then more specific, and then very specific. Clayton, good to see you. All right, let's see what you got.
All right, let's dive in. What are you in the mood for today? Are we talking architecture, maybe some AI adventures, or something else entirely? Let me know and we'll make it happen.
Thank you very much. I think we are into AI adventures today, some architectural adventures and AI adventures. What I would like to do is create a Midjourney prompt for image generation of a classical 5-bay colonial home. Can you do that for me?
Absolutely. I'd love to help with that. Here's a prompt you can use to generate a beautiful classical colonial home. Create a 3D rendering of a classical 5-bedroom colonial home with symmetrical design, a centered front door, and evenly spaced windows. The house should feature a classic brick or white clapboard exterior, a pitched roof, dormer windows, and a welcoming front porch with columns. Include a spacious landscape front yard with a pathway leading to the entrance. Feel free to tweak any details to match your vision.
Well, thank you very much. We're going to take this in and actually see what it produces. All right, let's go to our various 3D image generation machines. Number 1, Midjourney. Let's take a look and see what it actually produces. Rendair. Let's see what it actually produces. And Flux Playground. See what it produces. So this is me just telling ChatGPT I want a classic colonial home. And we're going to see how consistent it is from each image generation machine. And what's kind of lame about Rendair, it really only produces 1 version, whereas these other ones produce 4. I don't know why the difference. Well, this is interesting. Okay, so this is its interpretation of a classic colonial home. Huh. Honestly, not too bad. Obvious rendering, it's not photorealistic. And there's Corinthian columns. And it has little modillion blocks with some additional details. We can get into the details of that and discuss it and where it succeeds and fails. And this has ionic columns. Dang, actually this ain't too shabby. Huh. Okay, none of them are brick, which is I think what this one generated. And so we have Midjourney here that generated a brick one. Wow, okay. This one is getting the details all wrong. Interesting. Once again, details are wrong. All wrong. I wonder where it's pulling this imagery from. Once again, the details are all wrong. Wow, these are bad. These are McMansion versions of a classic colonial home, meaning that what's happening is there's too much stuff that's being added, or the language of classical architecture being used in a way that isn't, I guess, historically consistent and authentic. And there's Rendair's version. And so far, I found that Rendair is definitely the weakest of the 3 image generators. And once again, it is still weak. This is like, oh man, I don't know, Craftsman in a really bad 3-bay colonial from the 70s had a baby. That one's not even worth looking at. The whole thing is bad. And so what's interesting is a lot of you out there, I know a lot of you are out there asking to yourself, Clayton, what on earth are you saying that I'm not saying? Why is this bad? If you want to dive into the nuance and the real depth of what that means, just leave a comment below and say, hey, Clayton, can you please describe this a little bit more? Because we don't see what you're seeing, and I can go into this. But for the purposes of this video, we're not going to dive into all of the nuances. We just want to see if there's a difference between the images that are generated and the prompt that is given based on the information I give to ChatGPT. So the next one, let's do this exercise again with a little bit more information to ChatGPT. Okay, I'd like another prompt for Midjourney and other image generation programs. And this time I want a classical colonial home, but I want a lot more detail in your description. I want it to be authentic reproduction of a 5-bay colonial from the Northeast in the United States, wood clapboard, painted, scroll pediment on the front, no porch, but I want a side porte cochere that has Doric columns and a balustrade with a pitched roof and that type of stuff. Okay, so we're gonna see how well you can create a prompt that gives me a pretty authentic New England, let's say 19th century, early 19th century version of a classic colonial home.
Got it. Let's add all that rich detail into the prompt. Generate an authentic early 19th century New England colonial home with a symmetrical 5-bay facade. The exterior is painted wood clapboard and the centered front door features a decorative scroll pediment above it. The roof is pitched with evenly spaced double-hung windows on both floors. There's no front porch, but on one side of the house include a porte cochere supported by Doric columns and topped with a balustrade. The setting should reflect a lush, green New England landscape capturing the charm of the period.
I think that's pretty much what I said, but whatever. We'll just go from here. Okay, let's put them in and see what actually happens. Okay, Midjourney, let's see what you got for us. Rendair, let's see what you got for us. I guarantee it's gonna fail. And Flux, let's see what you got for us. Interesting. All right, we're getting some stuff popping up from Midjourney. We're getting some stuff popping up from Flux. And Rendair is always behind and it only produces one. And I guarantee it's going to be worse than the others. So, sorry. This is hilarious. Oh, this is funny. This is funny. This is like, this right here. This right here is like someone from the Beaux-Arts Academy in the 19th century who had an acid trip and decided to create the bizarrest, most crazy cartouche scroll thingy deal and just threw it on a broken pediment. So what we call this thing is not a scroll pediment. This is called a broken pediment. And I asked for a scroll pediment so a scroll pediment looks like this. It's where the thing comes up and it has a little scroll and it's a very delicate thing. And I wanted to test AI to see if it could understand what that was. to understand its limits of knowledge. And just so you know, we've now discovered a very significant limit of its knowledge. And then it has these, I kind of like those, that's fine, but what on earth is going on up here? So it has these big giant corner boards with these random weird capitals at the top that don't actually mean anything. But what's amazing, once again, just looking at what image generation capabilities AI has, is the thing looks real enough that we're not paying attention to the details, and you just glance at it and you don't think, oh, something's completely wrong with that, until you actually look a little bit closer and it's like, holy cow, that thing is messed up. It has the 5 bay things, so all of the big ideas are there, but the details, I mean, where's the porte cochere with the Doric and the balustrade, blah, blah, blah. It's not even there. It's completely missed. Once again, missed the scroll pediment, got the 5 bay colonial, looking very New Englandish, and it didn't come out with the porch, which is exactly what I wanted, but it is missing the pediment and missing the whole porte cochere. Sorry, guys. Fail, fail, fail. Well, that's an interesting version. Most of the time these things come on the front side, but I'll take this. A little overscaled and cheesy, and all of these look like a mix between a modillion block and a dental mold that had buck teeth. So, wow, and they even put this down here. You see, this is where the details just go totally, totally, totally wrong. When you look at an authentic pediment, which is this thing right here that exists on top of what's called the entablature, which is the part that exists above the columns. These columns, these are what we call schemazzi capitals, which have a twisted volute. I know most of the stuff is going to be boring to most people, but the reality is that understanding the details and the nature of the details, the names of the details, and how the details are applied actually give you the language competency to execute a beautiful, timeless, classical design if someone wants it. And this is the reality of what we exist in today's world with dental molds / modillion blocks that are so overscaled. It looks, I mean, it seriously looks like the little 8-year-old who has buck teeth, and it just went totally south. Whereas dentals are supposed to be this size, not this size. All right, let's look at another one real quick. Oh, it kind of was trying to do the scroll pediment, failing, totally failing, but trying. And here's the deal. When it comes to traditional architecture, I did not know anything until I was educated by really smart people at the University of Notre Dame. And so I was just like everyone else, and just like all of you in terms of like looking at a classical building. To me, they all look the same. It's like, it's a classical building. It's beautiful. I didn't understand the nuance and the detail that existed within that building. And so it does take experience, knowledge, and design to really get it so it feels authentic and right. Otherwise, it just feels like a cartoon and silly. Oh, and that's back to the other ones. So anyway, that's what it produced. The images look pretty cool, but they just are missing the details. Missing it. And this one completely missed the other request for the porte cochere. Look, there's a porte cochere. Look, but there's supposed to be a drive that goes underneath the porte cochere because that's what porte cochere is. But whatever. And this one, hey, there we go. Once again, Flux has the best image generation, I guess, understanding of all of them again. So let's pull this a little bit more into frame. Here. Still missed the scroll pediment, incapable of doing the scroll pediment, but it did get, I told him Doric, not Ionic or Schemazzi. The relationships are mostly the same. The entablature is looking mostly good. They painted the balustrade, I don't know why, but that's generally what it'll look like. The columns are too fat. Interesting. It's not the absolute worst. It's not great, but not the absolute worst. Oh, okay. Huh. This one actually brought the portico out a little bit. Still missed the scroll pediment. Botched that. I can't see any closer, but I'm willing to bet it screws that up too. So what makes this so, I guess, appealing? So what makes this so appealing is the fact that the lighting makes it feel real. AI is exceptional at creating ambiance or a feeling of an idea. It is terrible at capturing the details of the idea, as of right now. This would typically not project in front of the house, but I didn't specify it not to, so I can't be disappointed in that. the last one. Oh, interesting. I kind of dig it, but okay. That's some creativity, but like I said, I kind of dig it. So once again, missed the scroll pediment, still doing this, this full portico. So still doing this full portico. It's got a fan light above the door, looks nice. Dormers are still looking good. I like the double colonnade. They've got dental moldings. Well, I guess those are more like modillions. We call these modillion blocks. They can be confused with dentals. That are almost proportioned correctly. They seem accurate. And the fact that they put a balustrade on top of what could be a upper porch over a slanted roof, I'm not offended by that. All right, let's do one more thing and see if we can be even more specific. You're going to get really bored, but we'll see what it produces. So as we do this real specific prompt, I hope that you all watching do not get too bored. All right, ChatGPT, here. I want another Midjourney. Prompt to generate the following. I want a neoclassical home after the federal style. I want brick parapet walls on either gable end above the front door, centered in a symmetrical facade on the shed side of the roof with a classical portico with ionic columns.
Absolutely, let's craft that prompt with...
Hey, wait, I'm not done yet. I want clay chimney pots. I want an orangery coming off the left side of the building that has a simplified Doric capital with pilasters, with floor-to-ceiling windows, a 12-foot tall ceiling in the orangery, whereas a 10-foot tall ceiling in the remainder of the house, and a balustrade on top of the orangery that is a square railing because I don't want curves on it, and I do not want...
Got it.
Okay, hold on. I need to keep going. I want to give you a few more details. I want a water table down at the base of the home that comes up to the bottom sill of the window and has a brick sill that wraps the entire building. And it's going to be 5 bays, and center bay will be the door. And I want an accurate Palladian window on the top that is completely authentic to what Vignola and Palladio describe as a Palladian window with the proper trim, full entablature for the mini columns that exist between the arch window and the side window. And I also want the edges. I want the parapet wall on the 2 gable ends to project slightly, let's say 1-2 inches beyond the front face of the house where the water table can engage, and we'll see what happens. So let's try that out and see what happens.
Now, it sounds like an incredible level of detail. Here's the full prompt with everything included. Create a neoclassical home inspired by the federal style, featuring a symmetrical 5-bay facade with a centered front door. The exterior is made of brick, and the gable ends have parapet walls that project slightly, about 1 to 2 inches beyond the facade. The front entrance is accentuated by a classical portico with ionic columns. Above the entrance, there's an authentic Palladian window with proper trim, entablature, and the characteristic mini columns described by Palladio and Vignola. The house has a water table at the base that aligns with the bottom sills of the windows, and this water table is complemented by a brick sill that wraps around the entire building. On the left side of the house, there's an orangery with a simplified Doric capital and pilasters, floor-to-ceiling windows, and a 12-foot ceiling, while the rest of the house has a 10-foot ceiling. The orangery is topped with a square balustrade, and the roof features clay chimney pots for added historical charm.
Sounds good, thank you. And just so everyone knows what I'm doing here, I'm giving it a crazy level of detail, and some of the stuff is just weird, and I actually wouldn't do, because the way you use the languages of architecture and human style is you begin to do iterations of it in a sketch or a plan, elevation study, that type of stuff. You don't just verbally describe what you want and then have something produced. That's not the way it's done. It's done with the hand and drawing. So it's interesting to try to come up with something and see what these things generate in the meantime. So let's take that prompt, go to ChatGPT, not ChatGPT, and let's go to Midjourney and see what happens. That is a much more thorough prompt. It'll probably take Rendair an hour to produce this thing. Okay. Okay, Flux. You'll notice what's interesting is the first one's Flux did actually look like renderings, whereas the second one looked a little bit more photorealistic. And oh my gosh, so wrong. So wrong. So wrong. Let's go to Midjourney first again, and since that's how we're starting. Nope, missed the parapet walls altogether. It does have a crazy stupid classical Palladian window, a little too classical. This is nuts. And also it produced an Ionic portico, but they have these giant order of Corinthian columns, which looks idiotic. If it was done right, it actually would be pretty cool, but all those details are wrong. So what's the next one? Missed the orangery, missed the water table. It missed so much stuff. Okay, this one actually got the water table right. It got it in the wrong spot, but actually got it in the accurate spot. And once again, we're playing Minecraft. This one is not a Palladian window, and it's not what I requested in any of this. So this is AI's interpretation of my request, which is not even remotely representative of what I was going for. So fail, 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 fail. There's a little orangery on the side, so that one's coming a little closer. Has a full pedimented front, no parapet walls. They screwed that up. Some of the details, still no Palladian window. It does have a porch that comes out. It's not Ionic, it's Doric. Anyway, I mean, interesting. It's like, what the crap? We got gutters come down here, then come down here, coming out the walls. I don't understand what's going on. Oh, wow. This is like Lego house. Oh, this is what I would have designed prior to architecture school. This is exactly what I would have designed prior to architecture school. And so I am grateful that I was taught a few things so I could actually be better at what I do. But anyway, don't even talk about it because it's funny. Oh, missed it again. The Palladian window is ill proportioned. That centerpiece is way too large. Doesn't make any sense. Missed the columns, missed the porch, missed all of it, missed the parapet walls, missed the water table, miss everything. This one is just a freaking mansion that also missed it. Though, what's crazy about it, it is more authentic, and it does have an orangery, and it does have Ionic things, but I told it to do Doric on the orangery and not Ionic. And I would actually probably live in that orangery because that's cool, but it shouldn't exist on the front of the house. And that's weird. I said on the left side of the house, it just put it on the front left side of the house. Guess I need to be more specific on that particular aspect of this request. It's seemingly legit. Okay, so when it comes to style and trying to get AI to give you a prompt to generate particular inspiration images to be able to give to your architect, man, unfortunately, I think you're still going to be best with looking at real images on Pinterest rather than having AI generate stuff, because the reality is you have to really know what you're going for, and someone who really knows what he's going for still can't produce what he's looking for. I don't think anyone is going to have success. So keep scrolling, keep searching, keep liking, and join us on the next video as we look at one more style and see what AI produces.